Jason, how you doing? Week 6 of the season, going by pretty fast.
It's flying by. It's amazing how quick the season goes. It feels like we just started, but now storylines are coming through. Good teams are pushing forward, and we're just evaluating it day to day.
Day to day. Speaking of good teams, Chiefs 5-0. Can you talk about Pacheco and Rice? They both go down, and then they seamlessly insert Kareem Hunt and Juju Smith-Schuster. They know the system. Can you talk about, how flawlessly they're able to work in, speak on the team chemistry of that nature?
When you talk about teams and you talk about franchise players, obviously we're speaking of Patrick Mahomes, and this is the result of that. When you pay a guy that much money, it's supposed to be a situation where he can carry the load. Now, we know he needs weapons around him, and it's all about building the best team and assets around his skill sets. But if he has to make it happen, it's him. And that's what you see, the continuity of him, Travis Kelce. And remember, they invested a lot in this offensive line, and that's where you hold up in the NFL. I know all the flashy toys are on the outside, but it's the big dudes in the middle that make it happen. And they're holding it together. So you bring in people that you understand their skill sets, you plug them in. You seeing that with Juju Smith-Schuster and with Kareem Hunt. They're playing to their strengths, and they're able to plug them in, and they fit right into the equation. This team is led by their defense, but their offense with Patrick Mahomes, they always got a chance.
So let's talk some Steelers. Wilson, Fields, we've heard that debate fester on since, they both joined the Steelers in the offseason. Fields was able to get them off to a 3-0 start. Things were looking good. He's been playing well. Last 2 weeks haven't gone so great. They've faltered a little bit. Offense, hasn't played well. And Wilson seems to be healthy, getting there. What are your thoughts on if both guys are healthy, where should they go right now?
Well, Justin Fields was in the pole position, but in the NFL, you got to hold it, right? It's tough. It's week to week. You don't want to give the person that's knocking at the door an inch. And that's what he's did. By him kind of reverting to his old ways, his old mistakes, you're looking over and you're thinking, well, I brought Russell Wilson in to start. He can fit our formula well, and we can go on and hopefully have success with him in there. So I think because of that, Russell Wilson probably will find his way back on the field just because of the way Justin Fields has played. He had the opportunity, and they were going to ride with the hot hand. But once that showed any kind of significant decline with that defense they got, they just need somebody to handle the offense and plug into the formula correctly. They'll give Russell Wilson a chance to do that.
Let's go to one of your former teams, the New York Giants, who, coming in, there weren't a lot of expectations on them. And so far, they're not world beaters, but maybe they're not as bad as we all thought they would be. And especially that defense, entering week 6, they lead the NFL with 22 sacks. And they got a big Sunday night game against the Bengals where they can essentially put a dagger in the Bengals season. What have you seen so far from these Giants and their defense?
Yeah, well, it starts in that front seven, that defensive line, and you've seen attitude, getting after the ball. We knew they had time, they had talent. I mean, Dexter Lawrence can wreck a game, period. He's that kind of player. So when you got somebody that you have to double team, it frees up people on the outside. And New York is always known for its defensive line. They take pride in it. And I think they started to understand for them to be competitive and win games, they were going to have to take over. They knew with Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors, there was going to be opportunities outside where he could take shots. I mean, it can win one-on-one matchups, but the defense was going to have to keep them in the game. And the best way to do that was with that front. They weren't super steady on the outside at corner. So it had to be the line of scrimmage domination that took over.
Let's go a little up north in New York and let's talk some Buffalo Bills. The Bills have faltered a little bit recently. It's kind of noticeable that they lack a true number one or wide receiver. Where do you see their offense going from here? The play of Josh Allen, a possible Davante Adams situation down the line. I don't know. Where do you see all that?
Well, we talked about their new identity, which was the faceless offensive weapons, right? It didn't have to be a number one target. But now you're starting to realize why a number one target matters. Who's your go-to person? Who gets you out of a tight situation? And you're not seeing that. And you're not seeing the offense run smoothly because of that. I think they need to lean back into the running game heavily. That's important. But also, I believe that because this division is in flux and they can win it, there's really no reason for them to panic. They can get right. They can figure out things. Josh Allen is the man. You just want to make it easy on him so he doesn't have to feel like he has to make every single play. Khalil Shakir is going to have to come back. When he's on the field, you can see Josh Allen believes in him and there's some trust. There's some explosive nature to the pass game because of that. But there's no reason to panic because it's all about winning your division, and they can do that.
All right, we're both in London right now. We're in the middle of the London games. Last week we had Vikings, Jets, and just walking around, yeah, there's, a good amount of Jets fans, but I don't know if I've ever seen a fan base take over a city, let alone in a different country like the Vikings have. Can you speak on just, Skull and just what what you saw?
The Vikings have done a lot in investing in this market, and you can see it. I mean, we know how the Vikings fans are. We know how loud they can be, people that have been there. And they brought it to London. It was loud. They responded, and it was really special because when you have a defense the way they do, the defense vibes and the energy is like a fuel, and you can see that happen. That was really special. I'm so proud to be out here because of the fans in the UK and how they make this so unique. So even though you had Vikings fans, it still had the international UK flavor, and it was constant noise and constant energy. And that's what makes such a good viewing experience for us and also the players on the field. Just all that energy.
Nice. All right, a couple more for you. The Eagles are coming off their bye week, looking to regroup a little bit. What do you expect to see out of them in the next couple weeks with, the murmurs of Sirianni's seat getting a little warmer and warmer, Jalen Hurts, a little bit of a roller coaster. Where do you see them going from here?
They're getting healthy. That's what I see. Think about this offense with its two top receivers. That's how it's supposed to function. Who you going to stop? If both those guys are on the field and you got Saquon Barkley, it is a nightmare for defenses. So they just needed to get healthy. So let's see what they look like full health or, almost there. They just haven't been playing with all their weapons. This offense is designed to work because you have to stop the threat of the guys on the outside. And once you do, you can run the ball behind that powerful offensive line. We get to see what it looks like now. It's all about health. No reason to panic on them either. Though they have a surprise in Washington. They didn't know Washington was going to be balling like this, but yet I don't push the panic button on them because once all those players are on the field, it's a different team.
All right, last question. Looking ahead next week to Thursday night, the Sean Payton game, Saints, Broncos. Speaking of teams that, we didn't expect a lot that are playing pretty well, the Denver Broncos and the enigma that Bo Nix is. He seems to be somewhat figuring it out week by week, and we know their defense is just absolutely absurd. Can you speak on, what you've seen from the Broncos so far?
Well, I'm glad you opened that door for me because I want to talk about that defense.
Let's
My
go.
goodness. Those corners, Surtain, Riley, I love what I'm seeing on that defense. Patrick Surtain Jr., the way he is playing on the outside, to me, he's the number one corner in the game. I remember playing against his dad. So he's got the genes, right? His dad was a great player on the outside at corner for Miami and for the Chiefs. So you can see that in him. I love watching him play. I love watching Riley Moss on the other side. So it's just, to me, that's a stronghold of defense. When you can cover on the outside, it allows you to do a lot of stuff. And Bo Nix, you got Sean Payton. You're going to operate on a high level. It's going to be game plan specific. He has a lot of experience, so it always gives you a chance. It's going to be tough, man. Those the New Orleans, it's a lot of, it's a lot. Nobody wants to lose this game. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I really like the way this defense is playing.
All right, Jason, appreciate you taking the time. Week 6, like you said, the season is flying by, and we got a whole bunch of storylines that I'm sure will keep on unraveling as we go on, man. So
next week we'll be like, we know nothing.
Right. We know this, but then Sunday happens and we're back to not knowing a thing.
Gotta love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy.